Welcome to another installment of our help video series for the iFish Illinois data portal. By now, you are hopefully familiar with entering data for surveys and site visits that belong to a particular survey, and then samples that belong to site visits. By now, if you've gone through those three, you're likely ready to do some data entry on the actual fish you captured. Now, there is, to note, if you don't capture any fish in a sampling event, you don't have to go through this process. There's nothing to enter, and so that's just fine. But let's say you've entered your survey information and you're ready to get into recording your fish measurements or your fish measurements. So we'll first go ahead and find the sample that you've entered, and here's an example one that I've created. I'm just going to go ahead and go into edit mode on that form. And again, here's all the information that I provided previously on that form. And then I'm going to go ahead and leave this radio button selected and save that again, and that'll trigger us to go to the fish measurements form. So at the top of this form is the survey, site visit, and sample we're dealing with. Keep in mind that you cannot edit this information from this page, but it's there to tell you what data sheet you should be using to enter fish. And then this next section is where we enter fish measurements, and you can work species by species. The action after you save this page is to just stay right on this page and continue working. We designed it this way so that you can hit this save button frequently. So as you enter a few fish and hit save, those are then committed to the database and cannot be lost if you lose internet connection or your browser crashes or your computer crashes or whatever might happen. So that's your option to save frequently as you go through entering all your fish. And so let's start with the first species of fish that we're going to enter for, and that's going to be some bluegill. So we'll just scroll down here to BLG, enter bluegill, and these are going to be our single fish measurements. Okay, and so as you can see, this changed which fields over here that you're able to fill out. If I choose length bin, these are your hashed fish. Okay, so you're not going to provide weights or length maxes or any genders or maturity on a group of fish of a certain length bin. If you're weighing a number of fish in bulk and you're simply counting them and then weighing all of those fish that you counted, these are the only two fields that you'll fill out there. You can do group weight and length so that you can do multiple fish of a minimum length and a maximum length, and then a total weight of all of those fish. And then lastly, you can just simply count fish with no lengths, no weights, or anything, just simply a count. So those are your 5 options. And as they appear down below, they'll be coded. So first, let's start with your single fish on your bluegill. And so let's say we have a 127 millimeter long bluegill that, let's say, weighs 7.9 grams. And then we don't know the gender or the maturity. You can just leave that NA if you're not doing that. If you are taking this data on this sample, but so you can indicate that it's a female, and whether it's immature, mature, it's ripe, it's running, spent, or unknown. Or you can choose male, or you don't know. Advice I'd give you is that if you are collecting this data for this sample and you come across a fish for which you cannot tell the gender or the maturity, that you use the unknowns. Otherwise, just leaving these blanks is an indication that wasn't data you collected at the time. And then once we've got that individual fish entered, we just go ahead and hit add measurement, and it'll be queued up here in the bottom. When you see lengths or measurements in red, it means they have yet to be saved, and you see this note here that key to that they are unsaved additions. Okay, and then the cursor returns you right back to this count, so I can just go ahead and tab and hit 178 and hit tab and hit a weight of 245 grams. And then I can hit the tab button and skip over gender, and hit the dab button and skip over maturity, and skip over adding a mock, which is a mark of some kind. We're not doing those just yet. And then I highlight the add measurement button and I hit return, and I can add that fish. and now I'm back in the count again. So let's go ahead and tab over to length, and this one is kind of a big one. It's 289, and that weight is going to be, say, 389, and then our gender and our maturity are unknown, and there's no marks, so I'm just tabbing over and hitting enter. Okay, and let's say those are the only 3 fish that I actually measured individually, so that seems like a good spot to stop and save. And I get a confirmation that the data has been saved, and now it's no longer red. And then I might move on to my hashed fish, which is my length bin fish. Okay, and I'm going to start right here in the count, and I say I had 6 fish in the 130 millimeter bin, and I tab over and I add. And then I had 8 fish in the 140, 40, and I hit tab and I hit enter, and then I had 5 fish in the 150, and I hit tab enter, and then I had 1 fish in the 160, and I hit tab enter, and you can see I start to build my list of fish in the hash bin. So there's the 130s to 139s, the 140 to 149s, the 150s and the 160s, and there are the counts. That all looks good, so I'm going to hit save, and that data is saved. And so you can proceed this way for as many fish and as many species as you need. So we can move on, say, to let's do largemouth bass. It's a common one, of course, and then we're going to go ahead and start with single fish, and that's a 1, and that's a 425, nice big fish, and this is going to be 1,200 grams. Whoa, I got one too many ones. 1,200 grams, and actually I can tell it's springtime, and that's a male, and it's likely mature, and I'm going to add that measurement. Okay, and you can see here that it recorded this as a single fish measurement. That's what that S means. S indicates a single fish measurement. C is count only. W is group weight, and G is group weight or length. Okay, and so you can see there's my fish. It gives me the gender and maturity that I estimated, and then I go ahead and save the page. Okay, you'll notice here this is a count of the total number of fish by species that you've entered so far. Okay, if you'd like to enter your data in order on your data sheet and verify that you've got everything done, we'd by default group these by species, but you can also hit this blue button here and do by the time it was entered. So this is the last fish I entered. This was the first fish I entered. You can see these are the 3 single bluegill, and those are my hashed bluegill, and then that was that single largemouth that I entered. If you'd like to print this and be able to sit down on paper and cross-check your work, you can go ahead and click Print View. It'll open up a new tab, and then you can simply print this and write on it, etc. Okay, or you can go back to the default sort. And when you're all done with that, you go ahead and save on the page. And you can do this for as many species as you want. When you are done doing data entry and you've completed that data entry, go ahead and check that Input Complete box, and then go ahead and hit Save. Okay, so that'll flag this as a completed entry, and then once you've cross-checked it and you've conducted your review and everything's been corrected, go ahead and click that and save again, and then those check boxes will be used and some future features in terms of making data available and reminding folks that data needs to be reviewed and stuff like that. So that's the basics of entering fish measurements. We've tried to design it so that you can keyboard across this row of data pretty quickly and hit the enter button to add fish. Save frequently, and on that last save, when you're all done, you can choose your path forward. As always, if you have any questions about this or anything else with respect to the data portal, try out our many help videos, or give us a call or an email and ask a question, or go ahead and report a bug using our online bug reporting tool, and we'll see if we can't get an answer for you as fast as possible.